Good evening. B. Michael Geary, here with you as always. Tonight we are going to look into the world of the Parody account. What does it take to be a nameless, faceless individual who technically has no responsibility at all, yet adds so much and devotes so much of their life to one cause, supporting the Kirk Minihane show? What does it take to abandon your family and all your cares in the world, ditch your responsibilities and cast them asunder, just to devote your life and your work and your blood and your sweat and your tears to supporting the podcast you love? My guest is Ned Snark. This is Life of the Parody. As I sit here in Miami, Florida, I have some time to ruminate, and as you can tell by my Milton's vacation attire, I'm very laid back, and it led me to thinking, how far does the reach of the Minifans go? Do they span the nation? Do they span the world? Today I think we're going to find out. We are here in Florida, where there are many fans of the Kirk Minihane show, but perhaps none more prominent than the great Ned Stark. Ned, how are you this morning?
I'm well, Mike. Thank you for having me here.
My
The accommodations are fantastic.
I appreciate you joining me both under the covers of my bed here, but what I want to really get to is under the covers that is your avatar and your Twitter handle. Many people know the great Ned Snark, but they don't know the man behind it. Where did you first discover Kirk Seamus Minihane?
Well, B. Michael, it went back to that halcyon year of 2012, 13 maybe? It was 2012. I caught Kirk and Mutt doing weekends. Their professionalism, their in-depth knowledge of the sports market in Boston, and their obvious rapport was an immediate draw.
Fascinating. Now, being in Florida, were you there at the time, or are you from Massachusetts?
I'm from Massachusetts, born at St. Elizabeth's Hospital, and I've moved back and forth between dragging my family to Maine and Florida over the past 30 years.
Now, how has that been following Kirk Minihane as you move across the country? Did you miss him when he was on radio? Were you able to continue following?
Well, I've listened to Kirk and Callahan on the old EEI app. You might recall that.
I do.
In
Terrible.
the Netherlands, in France, in Germany, in China, in Ecuador.
All around the world?
All around the world.
My goodness, you're a very well-traveled man.
Until EEI decided to not allow broadcasting outside of the U.S.
Very, very tyrannical, you might say.
It took away a civil liberty, as far as I'm concerned.
Now, what leads to you creating the character that is Ned Snark? It has become one of the great references for Kirk to go to. One of the great names in Minifan lore.
Well, you flatter me.
How did that come to be?
I am a big Song of Ice and Fire fan of the books, and of course the TV show Game of Thrones. And I saw when I first getting into Twitter and how it was working, and it's best to remain anonymous unless you're a high-profile person such as Podcast Jesus. So I just decided to do a spin on my favorite character in the book, and it went from there. But I wasn't really active until about 2013, after the Boston bombings. That's when Twitter really took off for me.
When did you? What do you attribute your notoriety to? How did you raise to such fame?
Well, there's
such heights.
I have to say it goes back to 2017 with the legendary MHB.
Now what's your relationship with him?
Well, that's a very interesting story, and he doesn't even know who I am.
Please,
he doesn't remember. However, when Kirk was going through his trials and tribulations, much like our own Jesus, I just did a random tweet with my 35 followers that said something to the effect like, "He'll never be back on WEEI." MHP then DM'd me. I didn't even know how DMs worked, but he found a way to make it work.
My goodness.
And asked me, who are you and what do you know?
Wow.
And I said, I am no one, and it was a guess. But since then, I started following him, and
a friendship was born.
Correct.
That's journalism, my friends. That's good, solid journalism by the great Mark Hannon's balls. Now, Kirk references you a lot. Ned Snark is a good go-to name for him. He draws from it. It's almost as if you're friends in a way. Does it feel that way?
I wish it did, but it doesn't. It feels like he grabs my name as one of the ones he remembers, but it's an honor every time he says my name.
How did it feel when there was a rumor circulating that Ned Snark was run by the great Adam Minihane, of course Kirk's brother? Did that make you feel perhaps honored in the sense that you could be compared to a family member of Kirk's, or did it feel like maybe your work was being unappreciated?
No, not at all. In fact, in my warped mind, I felt closer to the Minihane family. I was disappointed when I found out I wasn't Adam Minihane.
I see.
Shocking.
Now, you joined a program called Mike and the Minifans.
I did.
It was sort of your debut, your coming out party, if you will.
Correct.
And there's been a lot of chatter about you on the internet since then. How have you handled your newfound fame, and particularly the focus on your, let's just say it, handsome features?
It was really surprising. It was really surprising.
A whirlwind, you might say.
A whirlwind.
Yes, I can imagine.
Because, Matt from Providence, and of course the legendary T.J. Hubbard, and R.A. Minihane, and DC, of course, and all the others that I followed, the Australians, who I love very much. It was great to see them, but they didn't see me, so coming out now, we all can see each other. And in Madawaska next week, it'll be a lot of fun.
Marvelous. And you will be in Madawaska.
I will be in Madawaska.
Now, I believe Blind Mike's groupie and many others have made passes at you. You're a man.
It's been a bit uncomfortable, correct.
You've been married for many years.
Many years.
You strike me as a loyal fellow.
I certainly am.
Do you think you will succumb to temptation on that trip?
Well, do we know who the hair intern is?
We do.
We do.
Yes. I believe his name is William.
William.
Yes,
William,
a bit of a doofus.
William wants me...
A bit of a village idiot, if you will. If I may go on for a few moments. No, continue, Ned. I apologize.
No, this is your...
But yes, you do know Intern Will.
Yeah. Intern Will invited me to Night Fish on Saturday night in Madawaska.
I see.
And then wants to introduce me to his mother.
My goodness. That seems like quite a disappointing experience for all the other magical things that will be going on.
I was worried I might end up under the ice if I did that, yes. So...
How do you feel, where do you lie your responsibilities as far as being a Minihane? What do you feel your responsibility is to promote the show, to engage on social media? Do you not have any responsibility? What's your stance?
Well, Jesus didn't really give much responsibility to the disciples.
Sure.
But I've taken some on myself.
That's for you at home, this is brilliant. Continue.
I've taken some of it upon myself. However, I have other priorities as well, but my job really goes back to A Song of Ice and Fire. I'm in the Night Watch. I'm a wildling. I love that one. Whoever called us wildlings is great.
Yes.
But I'm a sword in the darkness, the light that brings the day. I've spread the word of Kirk Minihane show, KMS podcast Jesus, and I'll defend him at every turn. And that's where I think I got attention as well, when he was so unjustly attacked and disregarded by WEI. I think I jumped in and got attention that way. And that's what I see my role as, just another voice among the millions.
How much time, whether it's listening to the show, Twitter, Discord, any of these outlets to get your voice out there as a Minifan, how much time do you think you devote to the KMS world per week, let's say?
I'm now, I would say, up to 8 hours a day.
My goodness.
Including listening to the podcast, including the Mike and the Minifans and the...
It's a full-time job.
It's a full-time job, keeping up.
My goodness.
This week has been a whirlwind.
That is dedication, my friends, and that is the sort of drive you need to be a Minifan, wouldn't you say, Ned?
That's absolutely correct. Today I was on jury duty. I was out in the waiting pool with the rest of the potential jurors, just listening to the podcast and following what was going on with Barstool and the atrocious way that Michael Geary was treated.
My
Terrible.
Well, thank you so much for saying that. I appreciate that, and I'm sure he does as well.
Here.
Finally, we close with Kirk Minihane on the Kirk Minihane Show. referred to you as a 6. As a man clearly much more handsome than that, how did you take that sort of rating?
If our Lord and Savior says I'm a 6, I'm a happy 6.
Okay, I respect that. I like it.
I like it.
I like it. Ned Snark, thank you so much for joining me in
Thank
enlightening
you, B. Michael Geary. Thank you very much.
Folks, that has been Life of the Parody. And remember, we're all perfectly sane.